Hello, and welcome. Yeah, I'm streaming again, and I think I'm sounding a little weird. Let me check the compression rate here real quick. Also, let me know if you can hear me, but I think it should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine. But my voice sounds a little overcompressed, I think. Hey. No, that's the wrong one. Test. That's better. All right. So, hello once again. So, today we're going to do a song breakdown for Back One Day, aka Xenogenesis. The song had an incredible start on Spotify, where it made, I think by now it has almost 1 million streams, which no song ever did before. So that was really amazing. And yeah, I'm happy to share with you today how the song was produced and like how it all happened. You just heard the song. Obviously, as an intro song, I used it as an intro song and as an outro song myself. It just works for a lot of different things. And yeah, so let me get into it. First of all, I want to say the reason I'm doing is that I watched a lot of streams from other music producers, like, for example, Ian Kirkpatrick or Disclosure, and I always found them extremely helpful for myself. It's very inspiring to watch other producers, see their creative process, see how they make decisions, and see how they create songs, because you can always get a lot of new ideas and new approaches from that. So yeah, this is just me adding my little bit of contribution to this pool of knowledge, if you will. I hope that the stream is working well. I think the chat, I don't know what's... My chat? Yeah, if anything's going... if it's not working properly or anything, or we have dropouts or anything, let me know. Cool. So let me get started. So once again, I'm going to go a little bit through the process, how the song happens. And then I'm going to go into detail of how the production looks like. The reason I'm doing is personally, I think the creative process is at least as important as the specific production part. As you will see, the production is not that complicated. It's not like super crazy sound design or anything. But what I always found very important is the creative process, which means like playing around with a lot of weird ideas. I keep telling people about that I'm doing a lot of different layouts to create something that works. And once again, I'm going to step through a couple of layouts that I did a long time ago. Let me see if everything works here correctly so I can play them to you. I hope it's not too loud. Wait, no, I think it should be fine. So I'm just gonna play once again through stuff that I produced. I'm gonna step forward a little bit. So at this time, so this is still the same track. So this is what you can hear here is I was playing around with some brass sounds. I was also playing around with glitch hop at that time. That was before I even released Unity or Infinite Power. Yeah, so you can hear me playing around with it. I was trying to find new sounds and trying to find new ways of music expression, if you will. Never released this one. Made the next one. Da 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 da. and so on. Da 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 da. Then we have the next one. Once again, trying a lot of sound design. And what is this one here? So this was the time. This was the time where I also had the idea for Unity, so you can hear this 8-bit idea with glitch hop. And then yeah, what you can hear as well is that I took one melody and transitioned it through different sound combinations. I think it comes back again later. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a technique that I later on used in Monardian as well as Unity. So this is like, those are like the ways to those songs. But today we're talking Xenogenesis, but still, I just want to go through what's going on behind the scenes, right? Because sometimes people ask, oh, how do you come up with ideas? This is how I come up with ideas. So it's a lot of like ideas that are not quite there, but there are elements of it that I use in the, yeah, it sounds somewhat similar to Unity, exactly, because this was sort of an inspiration for Unity. So the next one actually was released. Let's see who recognized it. Like, this is the very early version. Yes, correct. Infinite power. Da 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 da, and goes on. And then one more song. Don't know what this is. Some really weird stuff here. Just trying out different stuff. Yeah, whatever. Trying out different stuff. So yeah, so why am I showing you this? The reason is that personally I think to move forward creatively you have to be somewhat brave, and being brave creatively means you have to to be willing to try things, and maybe at the end of the day you listen to it and you're like, oh wow, this sucks. Like, this is horrible. Like, for example, this one here. This took me a day to make. No idea what the idea was behind it, but obviously it sounds horrible. Anyway, so you have to try out weird stuff, because sometimes you try weird stuff and then it works. So the next day, this was the 9th of January then, I came back to an old idea. Because I had an idea before, I had a melody that I really liked, but I never got it to sound right. So I came back to this melody here. And then I transposed it. And what I did the first time, this time, when I came around, because I had written the melody in mid of 2013, came back to it a couple of times. This time, when I worked on it, I added a second melody that I originally had written for an a cappella group. Let me play it. second melody. And now you hear my attempt of producing it, which sucks. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off. Yeah, so this was next day. So next day, trying out sound design. I don't know. Whatever. So the next day, January 14th, there we go. That was funny because I had Tom Boudin, another producer and DJ, he hit me up and he sent me a track which had a very, very heavy bass in it. And he said like, hey, you should try something like this. So this is the first layout for Xenogenesis, and what it started with was this one here. So I sat down and produced this part here first, right? So I tried this like gritty bass. So this was like just the process of all this other stuff you heard before. And then I had this part and I still had like 2 hours left. So I thought, oh, I might just maybe try out with some brass. So I put some brass chords on it and then a brass melody. And then the song continued like this. Yeah, so this, I remember I produced it and I really went crazy about it. I was like, wow, I love this part. So someone is asking, isn't there any way to get the attention of the TheFatRat for even mods? I don't understand for even mods. Okay, so yeah, so once again, why I showed you this is like all the weird stuff before is like, this is just part of all the weird stuff that for me I'm creating, right? So this for me is the recipe to create something that's good, is just to create a ton of different stuff. Yeah, and so often when you sit down, you don't know what's gonna come out of it. You just go with the flow. So I made this. So I started with this, then went into this part here. I made a build up as well, so it started like this. Really weird. Yeah, so this was just one day after I produced this. All right. Okay, so I think you get the point. Make a lot of weird stuff. Try out new things. Don't be afraid if it sucks, because eventually you might stumble upon something that sounds good. Yeah, so I had this drop here, and then I think it was a couple of days later, I thought like, okay, I really like the drop, but I don't like this build-up. Obviously, this one here. I think it could use something different, so yeah, oh, now the computer is not playing how it's supposed to play, so I made the other part, which I'm gonna play in a second when I get this computer to work. Just gotta reset the buffer. Computer, hello, computer. I think it's there now. Let me. So this is probably most of you who are watching know this now by now. Okay, let's switch to the to the actual song. So this is the actual song, and yeah, I'm gonna go right through it. So I'm gonna leave the vocals for now, and just go through the different parts that are playing. Is it all working? I hope so. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It sometimes needs a little bit when I play. Okay, there we go. So by the way, I'm doing song reviews on my Discord server every second, third, or fourth Friday. Always this time. So I skipped last week because we had the song release. Now I'm skipping this week because I'm talking about my own song. But next week we're going to do a song review again. And what I'm talking about a lot is the depth of the song, like how to create depth in a song. So this is a good example here. Like it's not a lot of tracks playing. It's just 2 drum sections, or drum parts. So it's this one here. This is a couple of samples from the Ableton internal library. Oh, it's lagging. Is the stream lagging, or is just the sound lagging? Because the sound lagging, that's the computer here. If the stream's lagging, then I hope it's getting better. Yeah, whenever I press play, it just needs some time to run correctly. I don't know, because it's weird, because the project is actually not that crazy. Anyway, okay, cool, sounds good. Okay, so we have those. So we have those clicks here. They are completely dry. Then we have the snap. Now, come on. Which has a little reverb on it. This is super annoying. So those are the drums. Not a lot. Now, then we have those chords here. Should be start playing, yeah. As you can hear, they're completely dry. I'm gonna extend this here. I think it's a hard disk. So this is a very simple patch that I made in Silent. It's just one saw, and what makes it interesting, in my opinion, is that there's slight modulation on the pitch. So this would be more modulation on the pitch, right? And if I remove this, right, it gets a little too boring. And then one thing that I did is I automated the filter as well. So over time, you can see here the modulation wheels going up, which then, as you can see here, opens up the filter. It also decreases the volume, so the volume stays the same. Right? So this is a very subtle way of building up tension in the background. And then there's a filter removing the low frequencies at the very... So here we're already at the... Okay, so this sound, very important. This, as you can hear, is completely dry. Right? There's no reverb, no delay on it. And then we're creating depth. This is a vocal, some male vocal with a ton of reverb on it, just looped. And this is an out of tune, resonant noise. So this is creating depth. And then we're creating depth at this part. Yeah, it's on my side, on my computer. So this, I used a lot of these kind of sounds in the song, which is, let me show you, which is, what's special about this is that it doesn't use any oscillators. It's just noise and a resonant filter. So if I put on the resonance, it just does this. Let me increase the volume. So the filter follows, here you can see the filter follows the keyboard. And if you then push the resonance of the filter, right, push it further. And then the filter is self-oscillating. And since it follows the keyboard, you can just play it. You can just play it like a oscillator. But it's just noise. As you can hear, it's just noise. Now we're gonna wait a second again. So it's just noise with resonance on it. So I'm gonna. So this is the sound. Very simple in a way, and just some EQ in it, and then reverb. So this, as you can hear, has a ton of reverb on it. It's this RC24 from Native Instruments / Softube. So this creates also depth. So we have depth here. This is the stuff that's far away. And then we have the chords. And this one. Oh, it's actually, this has a little bit of reverb on it. Yeah, so this is close, and especially this one here. Especially this one here creates... Sorry for that. Especially this one creates a lot of depth. And that's pretty much it, right? Very simple. Okay, so now we'll have to. I don't know what to do in the moment to reduce this. Lag thing. Let me think. I think I'm just gonna delete the vocals by NFX for the moment, and then I can bring them back later. It's probably gonna solve it. No, it's not gonna solve it. What? No. Maybe a little bit. Okay, so this one once again is completely dry. And this is pretty much the same thing that I did before, just with silent. So, as you can see here, if you know silent, it's just noise, right? Let me turn down the resonance. So it's just noise. And the filter is following the keyboard. So if you stop the playback, yeah. So the filter is once again following the keyboard, and you increase the resonance, and you increase it even more. You get this sort of flute sound, right? Just with silence, and this once again with zero reverb, no delay or anything that creates depth. It's all very, very close. Which makes a nice contrast. And yeah, this is, and then there's more noise. I really like noise at this time. This hi-hat here is coming in, which is also silent. Just some noise, white noise. Something like that. So this is to open the high frequencies up, if you will. So let's listen as soon as my computer gets to it. Oh, it's getting better. No, it's, yeah. So everything at once. Okay, so now what's happening here is a shaker comes in. I don't know if it helps if I disable the other MIDI clips. Let me remove this. Oh, I can, let me take this off the master and pull up the master. I'm just gonna, I think this might help. Yeah, it's just a little quiet now, but I can just push it up. So it's just gonna distort a little bit maybe now. Yeah, also makes it a little better. Okay. Okay, so what's happening here? Shaker. Just a shaker sample. Just speeding things up, right? So we're coming from, drum-wise, we're coming from here. And we're going to... Just speeding things up. And then this is actually, I think, a preset from Xenogenesis, which I really liked using at that time. It's called Late Mouse. Opening up the filter through the modulation wheel. As you can see here. I tweaked it a little bit. It's more and more voices. So I tweaked it a little bit so when the filter opens up, it turns down the volume as well. Otherwise it would be too loud. Just a little EQ. And this is from Nexus. There we go. This is the... It's just the very simple preset. How's it called? Dance. What is it? What are you saying? I think it's... Yeah. As you can see here as well, it's playing a ton of notes at the same time. So it's the chord, and then the chord again. Just filtered away. Just plus the bass note. And this, in the end, creates a pretty harsh sound. Right? Let me play the entire thing. Together with the other chords that also open up. Let me start a little earlier. So you hear those first, those come in, now those slowly add to it because the filter goes up. And then it plays slightly different. So what's also important here is if you look at the notes, let's go to the notes. So it always, it goes up, and then it goes down. Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't sing along because that would have been a little awkward in the very end. Anyway, yeah, so the movement of the melody under those chords here is important. So it goes up chromatically like da 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 da, and then it goes down ba 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 ba, and then it goes up again da 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 da, and then it goes up again do do do. So this is also like this is a music way of thinking a build-up. So you have this engineering way of like adding noise and opening filters and everything. But this is just, you can do this like with a string section or anything. You will have a feeling that, okay, stuff is building, right? So all the chords, I think, are doing this. So as you can see, it's getting, also here you can see it's getting a lot more, and it's following the same melody. So all those things play together in creating the build-up, right? And what I liked about this one is that it's a little more subtle. There's not a lot of stuff coming in. It's this clap and this noise. This is once again a sound like the other ones. I think it's a noise, exactly. So once again, this is noise with a filter, with a bandpass filter on it. And the bandpass filter goes up, and it just sounds like this. And the bandpass filter is very resonant. Oh, and the resonance is modulated through an LFO. So point is, there's not a lot coming in. It's just this, and this clap. And the rest is this different sounds transforming and the chords having variation. Like the melody on the chords is first going up, then going down, then it's going up, and then it's going up even further, which gives this impression that, okay, now shit's gonna hit the fan in a second after the tom hit. Okay, so yeah, let me remove those things. So I'm just gonna remove the clap and the noise up so you can see how much is still happening. Yeah, and then we have those the snare roll, of course. That's true. This very short here. Of course, this speeds up things a lot, especially the clap. Right, when it comes in, it gives it more drive. And then we have this vox chop, which I created out of another vox chop, I think, from Splice. Once again, filter. So here you have the filter. Filter is slowly going up. So almost all the sounds in the background are changing. Except this one here. This just stays the same. But it's... This is also interesting because it's what the song starts with. So this is the first thing you hear. Oh, there's one... Like there's some ocean atmosphere here. Right. This is the only thing. But then other than that, you just hear this. And here, it's still there, but you almost don't hear it anymore. It's just more important stuff going on now. And what's also important here? So you have the da 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 dum dum da, and then this is not playing anymore. No, it's playing. Wait, where am I? Sorry, I'm confused. Confused myself. No, of course, this is playing. No, I mean, this one's not playing anymore. Sorry. So this... This is not playing anymore. Because it would be too much, right? If you had this as well. would just be too much stuff going on, because this one here, this is more busy. So you're replacing the da-da-dum-dum with da-da-da-da-da, right? Which is more busy again. Yeah, so the entire thing is just meant, of course, as you can hear, to build up tension. And yeah, that's it. You just have this. This is just the 808 snare drum, pitched. So it's played on piano. And then a tom hit. Just normal tom hit. All right, let's go to the drop. Drums are pretty basic in the start. Actually, the entire drop is pretty simple. Kick. Pretty EDM-ish kick drum. Layered with another kick. I think I have printed them both. But there's nothing special. I think it was just a splice sample. Two splice samples put on top of each other. So that's not the interesting part. I have a kick drum for the sidechain here. That's not so important. Claps, also nothing very special. I have some reverb on it here. Just on one of them. Still not so important. And here, I think I printed this one as well. Yeah, this is more interesting. As soon as it plays correctly. Thank you. Let me let this run for a longer period of time. Maybe once the computer gets to do it clearly. I think a big problem is that I'm recording it at the same time. I think that's bothering it a little bit. Yeah, but I want to upload it as well. That's why. Anyway, so what's interesting here is that the sound of the height changes. So it's always like this section has a certain height sound and then goes to the next section. Let me put it together with this one drum break and percussion adds. Okay. I don't know why I came up with this thing that the sound of the height changes. I think this was just a drum rack in Ableton. So I put a ton of different samples in it and just played around, just programmed a hi-hat loop. I think it's very crucial to the song, this change of height sound. It keeps it more interesting. And maybe I should do it again, something like that. So those are the drums pretty much, together with the effects. This one here, so this is this big explosion here. Let me turn that. So this is which you cannot hear when I just press play. So this, I think it's from Vengeance and a crash. So let me turn those off. No. And this one here, I think that's from Damage. It's a sample library, just the sound. Or maybe I programmed it. I can't remember really. It's also very crucial to the song, I think. Sort of this leads back into the repetition. Yeah, once again, I think it's more the combination of different sounds that are key in this case, rather than the individual sound. There's not a lot of processing. I have some limiting on here. In general, there's not a lot of processing going on. As you can see on the clap, okay, it's a little bit of EQ, little reverb and compression. Nothing very crazy. Oh, this one here has some... I really brought up the low frequencies on this one. I don't know why. And some compression on it. But it's not like some super weird or crazy creative effects here. And then let's go to the instruments. Again, it's more the combination here rather than the actual instruments. So it starts with the sub bass. Hello. What's going on, man? Gonna remove some plugins here. So this bass here actually sounded like, oh my god. I imported it. This was like the typical, there was a time when I used like super crunchy basses as TheFatRat. It was sort of my signature sound for a while. Very distorted, crunchy basses. So this is what I started with. And after I had produced the rest, I was like, oh, I don't need all this thing. So I just EQ'd it away. That's why there's a lot of EQing going on that actually doesn't do anything. You could just leave it like that. Doesn't save some CPU power. Okay, now this is a trombone. This is just a trombone sample. With some EQ in it. Without EQ it sounds like this. And since we have to listen to it now, let me freeze it. Maybe we're gonna freeze some CPU power. Okay. And especially hard disk power, because it's streaming the stuff from hard disk. Rainbow ball, rainbow ball. How about writing a song about the rainbow ball? Yeah, calculate your waveform. Let's turn off warp. Rainbow ball, rainbow ball. Something about like, oh, I have to wait, but you keep me entertained. Rainbow ball, rainbow ball. Okay. Oh, I think it helped. So this is the trombone sample, and then we have a tuba. I don't know how to pronounce tuba in English. Sorry. So this is from the Contact library, just as the trombone. Oh no, this is from East West Quantum Leap Symphonic Orchestra. So it's just a tuba sample and trombone sample together with a bass. The tuba, very interestingly, would be way more, as you can hear, like there would be a lot more low frequencies. Pretty much EQ'd it all the way. Yeah. Just to keep the brass character. And since we've heard that now, I'm going to freeze it as well. Sorry this takes a second, but maybe after that we can do the stream without any interruptions. No rainbow ball this time. Rainbow ball, rainbow ball. All right. Okay, so those are the bass sounds. It's a very crunchy bass where I filtered away everything for no particular reason. a trombone sound, which gives a lot of depth to it. And then tuba, so the bass together. There's some limiting on the bass going on, a little bit of EQ. This is interesting here. This is a little bit interesting. So there's some sidechain compression. But I made an extra sidechain kick here. And the sidechain kick does not hit on all the same notes as the main kick. So the main kick goes like dung 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 dung, right? It goes like this. So the other kick just goes like this. It leaves out some hits. That's on purpose, because otherwise I just want the main kick hits to push away the bass. So that way some kicks get more emphasized than other ones. It's getting a little better. Or maybe not, I don't know. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Rainbow ball, rainbow ball. Should we just stop the stream and stop Xenogenesis and write a song called Rainbow Ball instead? Because if we have an empty project, then it might work. No, I'm gonna go to the interesting part as well. No worries. Okay, so this is the bass. This is simply the French horn section legato from Ableton Live. And this, I think, is Quantum Leap Symphonic Orchestra. No, this is a synthesizer. Yeah, silent. Very simple patch. It's just a saw detuned, like the cymbals that you can imagine. This is just to brighten up and fatten up the acoustic horns. Right, so it's acoustic horns, synthesizer horns, both together. If it was today, I would put more. I would put them on a group and distort them a little bit together to, to mix them a little bit, like to mash them up a little bit together. Yeah, but it worked. Together with a bass. All right, so now we have the melody, which starts with two. This is the Ableton Live French horn staccato. And this is also the Ableton Live French horn staccato. Oh yeah, but I changed. So this one here, as you can see, the release is pretty short. Wait a second, this one. This has a shorter release for whatever reason. This has a little longer release. So it's just the French horn staccato together with the French horn from East-West Quantum Leap Symphonic Orchestra. And another Quantum Leap Symphonic Orchestra which plays. It's just the phrasing. So if you hear the first version of Xenogenesis, let me play that real quick. Yeah, this wasn't, I didn't do this. So I just had the legato patch playing all the notes, but it, as you can hear, it's missing this staccato da-da-dum-dum. It's missing because it just plays da-na-na. So it's important that it changes the phrasing here. So this is what I did here. Yeah, and so if you play them all together, so it's the staccato, entire staccato, and then this one here playing staccato. You know what? Let me print them. I'm gonna print the entire thing here. Maybe it's gonna help. I don't know. Once again, sorry for that. So what plugin are the horns from? It's the Ableton Live staccato horns. It comes with a studio version of Ableton Live, I think. And the other one is East West Quantum Leap Symphonic Orchestra, which is a library for Kontakt. So I've been playing around quite a bit. I think that's very interesting. Yeah. So I've been playing around quite a bit with cinematic sounds. So there are so many cinematic sounds on the market for all the people who produce cinematic music. Like, it's a huge huge market, of course. Like, you know, all the stuff needs scores, like everything you watch on TV. It's not only the big blockbuster movies, not only Hans Zimmer and John Williams, but like everything you see on TV, like all the TV stations in the world, they all need music all the time. So it's a huge market. So I find it quite interesting to, like, when you're in a particular genre, to look at other genres and see what's going on there. And by the way, that's something that I think Flume said it. They were doing EDM basically, but they were using hip hop drums. That was like, he said, like, this is like one of the main things we were doing, trap, if you will, or EDM stuff. But we just didn't use the same drums that everybody else used. We used drums from hip hop, and then you have your own unique sound. So what I still love to do today is like look at all the libraries that are for cinematic music production or scoring, right? And use them in like electronic tracks. There's a ton of stuff going on there. So that's the thing here. So it's just horn sections that are for symphonic orchestra, so for orchestra productions, mostly cinematic stuff, and just use them in an EDM track. That's sort of what makes the song. It's just combining a somewhat trappish beat, trap EDM beat with orchestra. So once again, those are the horns. Staccato horns. This is the long note, staccato, and all together. And then to go together with the chords. So this is horn chords with synthesizer chords. And with a bass. Yeah, the horns don't sound very good when you hear them separated. That's true. That's often the case. Often, what's also happening is if you have really high quality stuff and you combine it, sometimes it doesn't sound so good. So often you have to distort stuff or equalize it, if you will, especially with vocals. Sometimes if you listen to pop vocals on their own, they're so heavily processed that if you listen to them on your own, they sound really don't sound well, but they sound good in context. So yeah, that's sort of the same thing here. Let me freeze that as well real quick. Hope that it makes things a little better. Yeah, I think it makes things a little better. And then we have this one here. Very important in my personal opinion. Just keeps it rolling, if you will. What's interesting here is it has no reverb on it, just a little bit of delay. And once again, so the way this is produced, it's noise once again. Like it's either brass or noise with resonant filters. So once again, so let me build this real quick. So you have some noise, right? And you take a this is funny because it's a low pass filter. So you take a filter and you make the filter follow the keyboard. So when you play different notes, depending on which note you play, the filter goes up and down. And then you put up the resonance of the filter. And then what I did here is let me put this back. I put a envelope. Let me make this slower. So when I play note, the filter starts lower, right? But it's faster. So this is little, whoop, right? Just really fast. But if you leave it away, it's just missing a little bit. Yeah, so that's the sound, some delay on it. It's mono, except the delay. And you throw it together with the rest. And here. So this was 2014, early 2014. Everybody was using these here. So they're in there as well. You could probably leave them away. They're not important. I think they're just left over from what was happening here. So before I had, in the middle part, I had this weird bass part, which I now replaced. I simply took the brass section and filtered everything away, as you can see here, and then later on. Filter opens up again. So then the breakdown comes, and what's important here is that I use some different sounds. So this is just a Nexus preset, which is from the Christmas 2013 guitar plaque. And then what? Oh, this is piano. So this melody in the beginning now is played by piano. This is the Contact 5, the Giant. with a lot of space on it, as you can hear. So both times, it's there to create depth. Important here, different chords for the first time. So the entire song, same chords all the time, right? It's just repeating the same chords. And here we're having the same chords again. Let me play them real quick. Right? So the chord, not the sound, the chord progression is the same. Entire song. Same chords, same chords, same chords. But then, breakdown comes. So playing around a little bit with the chords. As you can hear, filter is opening up again. And then we go back to the other chords. So this is what we had before already, but on those, how much is it? I think 16 bars here. Yeah, you have different chords, which is important, because it keeps the song interesting. So, because you're so used to the same chord progression, and at this part, the song's like, okay, cool, let's do something else. And it's a little bit, yeah, it has some like little surprises. For example, this one here. It's a sound. So this is a E flat major while we're in B flat minor. No, so yeah, so we're yeah, B flat minor, which is also unusual because before we were in B flat major, but we were moving on a B flat minor scale with the bass notes. If you don't understand what I'm saying at the moment, don't worry about it. You can learn some music theory if you want. It's not that important, but it helps. Yeah, so here's just some arpeggiator. I think it's in Nexus Preset again, yeah. And this is something that I created. This is from Omnisphere. Choir full I might print this as well. I am thinking it's like a complete choir just for one effect. Note to myself, if it works without streaming on the computer, doesn't necessarily mean it's still working while streaming and recording at the same time. So next time I should give my computer some additional CPU space. So this is a choir. Also kind of important, I think. So yeah, because in the song, structure-wise, what we're having is we're setting up the chords. Right, we're setting up an atmosphere here. Then we're setting up the chords. We're bringing in the melody. Speeding up with vocal chops. Drop. Or speeding up. And then build up with the claps. Then drop. Second drop. Then we have a middle part going back into the drop. And then we're having an actual break where we change the chord progression. This is like, okay, let's breathe for a second. But also important. So this melody, those two melodies, they come back, but they come back with different chords and different sounds. So it reminds you of this one, right? But it's different sounds, it's different chords. So you feel like, oh, I know this, but at the same time you feel like, that's interesting. Last time I did a little, if you watch my breakdown of Ghostlight, a little explanation how to create emotions through music and how to make a song interesting. So, yeah, I don't want to repeat all the stuff again, but yeah, it's about creating expectations and then playing around with those expectations. So this is the thing here, right? So you're like, yeah, that's exactly the thing. You're like, okay, I know this. But then again, yeah, I know it, but also I don't know it. Trying to keep it interesting. And personally for me, I have to say, this way of thinking, this is important now for me. This way of thinking in music is much more important than like having like super sophisticated sound design. I'm getting more into super sophisticated sound design at the moment because it's also important. But what's more important in my opinion is to be conscious about how you set up expectations for the listener and how you play with those expectations, right? And this happens very much through chords. It happens very much through melody, and then it also happens through sound. Because what I see a lot of people, what they're doing, producers are doing, they're like doing like crazy sounds where I'm like, wow, this is amazing sounds. But then it's not quite there musically sometimes. So it's not thinking about, okay, like what expectations do I want to create with the sound? And how do I want to play with those expectations? Cool. Yeah, and then we have this sound effects again, choir, and this is, I think, pretty much the same thing. First of all, it's pretty much the same thing as here. No, it's not. Oh yeah, because it has this one in the background. Also, the claps already come in. And then the melody drops. So this melody here, or better, this one, it's not here anymore. So you have more focus on the vocal chops. And then what's important here, now we have this bass coming in. Which is just a ton of saw waves with a filter going down. But it stays on the same note. Which is also kind of, I think. So, what was? And then. So what it does is, it stays on the same bass note, right? Right, but the bass note stays the same. And it's pretty big sound. I don't know why the clap is so loud now. Oh, because I don't know why this happened. Okay. The drop this time is actually, I think, exactly the same. Same thing that we already had. And then we go for the outro, which has a very... I think this is a bit crusher on a kick. And then... just take some sort of tom with some reverb on it. And then it also comes back with this atmosphere, which so far we only had it in the intro, right? This part was not in the breakdown. So this comes back. This doesn't play for some reason, I don't know why. Anyway. Yep. And that's the song. Oh yeah, and then we have vocals. Let's have a look at Nefac's vocals. Wow, songs work in progress, and then we've you can see all the song titles of my work in progress stuff. And I don't even have Xenogenesis here. Where do I have it? Because I still had it. Let me go to current project. And let's see how the computer does now. Shows the ARPs? Yeah, I can show them. It's just the chords. And so it's just split up in 16th. And this is just Nexus preset. It's called LD Climax. From the Kamui extension. Just preset. I probably treated it a little bit. Maybe did something with it. But not a lot. Okay,
And now we're all doing our own thing, but I'll never forget our glory days. My mind is full of the memories, yeah. All the roads we travel.
Let me see if we...
journey of our lives. Take another picture.
Oh, the... That's nice. The sends still work. The return tracks still work. That's cool. Cool.
All the roads we travel. The journey of our lives.
I got the vocals pretty treated already, so he already did some compression and pitch correction and stuff on it.
All the roads we travel.
I think I moved them back a little bit. He was pretty forward on the timing, so I pushed them back a little bit.
All the roads
and then it's just some reverb on it. Let me see.
The journey of our lives.
So I think it's a small. I think this is a small reverb. No, is it? Yeah, here's a small reverb. This is... oh, it's both Valhalla. So it's Valhalla Chamber. So this is small reverb. Then a big reverb, which is a bright hall, both together. And then some delay. This is just the echo. And then send it into the reverb. Where are we?
Before we say goodbye, arm in arm we're standing.
Oh, and one thing that I did that's really important. So I took... did I do it? Yeah. So I took the entire... did I also do the instrumental? Let me look real quick. No, I didn't do it. I only did it in the drop. I took the... here, yeah.
I don't ever really want to hold it.
So I took Soothe on Oh, it's not playing now.
I don't ever really wanna hold back.
Wait, it's not
I got
doing
dreams,
anything
wanna
at
go
all.
fast. No, this energy's here to last. Not a glass half full, overflow.
Oh, and the sidechain doesn't work because I deleted it in between. So what I really like doing is take Soothe and then put the sidechain signal into Soothe. So that would be the vocals. In this case, vocals master.
I don't ever really wanna hold back. I got dreams, wanna go fast. No, this energy's here to last. Not a glass half full, overflow.
So what it's doing now is, let me turn this up. So it's pushing down the frequencies where the vocals are. So this is what it's removing from the signal. You can sort of create a vocoder out of it if you. That sounded different. Okay, enough messing around. Sorry for that. So it's just removing the frequencies whenever the vocals sing. It feels like it doesn't change the instrumental a lot. But
I don't ever really wanna hold back. I got dreams, wanna go fast. No, this
if I take this off, you will see that it's more hard to understand the vocals, or they're not cutting through as much.
I don't ever really wanna hold back. I got dreams, wanna go fast. No, this energy's.
So I've turned on.
I don't ever really wanna hold back. I got dreams, wanna go fast. No, this energy's here to last.
Any changes to chord tracks to emphasize the vocals? I don't know what you mean to chord tracks. No, so I didn't change the tracks a lot. Like this was what I was mostly doing. I think what I did when I mixed the vocals as well is I think this one I turned it down a little bit.
Memories fade, but legends never die. One last time, let's live for something. I can feel my.
And then, so here we have the.
One last time, let's live for some.
So it's building in a really nice way.
All the roads we travel.
Just one.
The journey of
vocal.
One last
no
time,
octaves. So it's.
And I can feel my blood.
Low octave.
It's rushing. This ain't goodbye.
Kind of cute.
One last time, let's live for something. I can feel my blood.
But it's important.
It's rushing, this ain't goodbye. We'll be back someday.
And here, that's me.
We'll be back someday, and we will find our way. Take control of our fate, and like a car with no brakes.
So I also added some vocals just to fatten it up, and I also had a studio singer as well.
Take control of our fate, and like a car with no brakes.
This is Simon. He's the guy who was singing on Warbringer. And this is added to all the other stuff here.
And we will find our own way.
Low.
Take control of our fate, and like a car with no brakes.
So.
And we will find our own way. Take control of our fate, and like a car with no brakes.
And then he had, this was Nefx here, idea.
Take control of our fate, and like a car with take control.
Yeah, so all those things add up just to make a bigger difference. So if I would mute Simon here and Simon there, and me as well, and the effects.
This ain't goodbye. We'll be back someday, and we will find our own way.
It still opens up, but not quite as much. So that's the idea of all these things.
And we will find our way.
Right? So this is me and Simon and different octaves and everything together.
And we will find our own way. Take control of our fate. And like a car with no brakes, crash and learn, make mistakes. And we'll be back one day.
I think there's a crash missing now that I muted. Probably. No, it's there. I don't know. Anyway, so
I don't ever really wanna hold back. I got dreams when I go.
on this one, I think I only have.
I don't ever really wanna hold
Oh
back.
yeah, you see, I have a different.
I don't ever really wanna
reverb
hold
here.
back. I got dreams when I go fast. No, this energy's here to last. Not a glass half.
I didn't use the same reverb because there's less space here because he's rapping so fast. So this is just a medium-sized reverb.
This energy's here to last. Not a glass half full, overflowed.
And not too much of
keep
it.
your eyes up on the prize. Only got one life, so it's worth a try. To find what makes you feel alive. That's the only way to live it right. And now we're all doing our own thing, but I'll never forget our glory days.
And
My
this
mind-
one, because it's higher, it has more. It doesn't cover up so much space because when it's higher, it only covers up the frequency range above it. The rest is cut away.
Now we're all doing our own thing, but
And also to make it open up more.
Now
So
we're all
this
doing our
one,
own
once again,
thing.
has
Never
like
forget our glory.
all the stuff on it. So it's a reverb, an echo, and a chorus. This is the other one.
Be back one day to celebrate our glory days.
So yeah,
Find what makes you
so it's
feel
pretty
alive.
dry.
That's the only way to live it right. And now we're all doing our own thing, but I'll never forget our glory days. My mind.
And this is opening up more because it has more reverb to it and so on and so forth.
Last time, let's live.
And then the bridge.
Although it's over now, don't let it get you down. We'll be.
This is a little thing. You take the. Let's do this real quick. It's a nice trick. So you take the vocal.
Oh, it's over now. Don't let it.
Then you reverse it. They changed the layout here. I'm still confused. So you reverse the vocal. Sounds like this.
Let's
take a vote. So now you put some reverb on it. Then you freeze the entire thing. Is there an instrumental version of the song? Well, there's Xenogenesis, the original track where I put it on. Okay, so now we have this. The reverb. Now, if we reverse this again now. There.
We'll be back around.
Now you have the reverb coming from the wrong side, if you will, right? Because we reversed it, we put reverb on it, and then reversed it again. So it's in the correct order, but the reverb is now coming before the actual sound comes.
Now we can feel some sorrow anew.
This is just what I... This...
We'll be back around.
I just did on this part. For we'll be back around.
Although it's over now, don't let it get you down. We'll be back around. For now we can feel some sorrow. A new day, it starts tomorrow. We'll wake up.
And this one here has some automation on. Yeah, so more echo, more reverb on this one. A lot of space, and then it sort of gets even more, sort of flies away.
One last last time, let's live for something. I can feel my blood, it's rush.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the vocal mix. Hope you find this interesting. If you have any questions, let me see what time it is. Yeah, I have like 50 more minutes or something. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Now, could be about the song, could be something else, whatever you find interesting. I hope I could make this in a way that it's also interesting for, that it's interesting for advanced producers and beginners at the same time. I always quickly get a little nerdy about stuff and assume people know everything. So yeah, if you have anything that you didn't quite understand, feel free to ask. Anything about the production, whatever it might be. Is this not just an effects vocals on Xenogenesis? Yeah, no, it's some backing vocals as well. So it's me here.
Take control of fate.
And then Simon. It's a typical thing that's done quite often, especially when you have solo artists and you want to make it big. Then you just book a studio singer and have them add more vocals to it. As someone who has never ever seen sound design before, that's very fascinating. Thank you. Why can't I download the stems? They're not on your Insta. I think I posted them before on the Discord, but if I should post the stems soon again. Is there going to see a stem release of the song? Yeah, definitely. I can't appreciate enough that you are back streaming. Yes, thank you very much. I hope. Yeah, I always feel that I might make it too confusing, but yeah, still. So if you're confused, now is the time to ask questions. Me, who don't even know effects. That's so crazy. I also didn't know him. Like, people suggested him to me, and I found him, and I was like, wow, it's so huge. He has so many streams, and he's in the exact same space as I. He blew up on YouTube, and his music's like free to use for people and stuff. And I was like, wow, it's crazy that I didn't know him. But I'm happy that I know him now, and he's amazing to work with. Such a nice guy. He was on this Discord party last week. Was really, really nice. Yeah, and he was great to work with in general. Can you do a breakdown of Envelope after release? The Envelope VIP, you mean? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I love doing those breakdowns. Personally, I really like them. Where's the song's artwork and the timeline? Oh, that's hard to say at the moment. That's hard to say. Yeah, you will find out. Yeah, I could say more detailed about Ghostlight. Ghostlight is somewhere in the middle of Parallax. In the early middle of Parallax. That's where Ghostlight's happening. Yeah. 2 messages were deleted by a moderator. Yeah, I don't know if it's possible for you to ask the questions. I hope so. If there are no further questions, don't make it too long. I don't know exactly what you mean. Anyway, if there are no further questions to production or anything else, the bot deletes it really fast, otherwise... Oh no, the bot deletes... Let me... So as far as I understand, the bot deletes questions. Oh, can it make the shield, turn the shield mode off? I'm just gonna turn off the shield mode for now. Maybe try again posting questions, because that's, of course, that sucks if you want to ask longer questions and then it's not working. So, if you just joined the stream, we're talking about music production. This should work. Okay, I hope so. We're talking about the song Xenogenesis that I produced. Which is this one.
One last day.
So this one. If you have any questions about this song, feel free to ask now. So how do you feel about some recently popular covers and mixes of your songs? There have been like popular covers and mixes of my songs for many years now. So it's not so recent. But generally, I always love it when people get creative with my work. So it's like I'm contributing something and somebody's picking it up and creating something new out of it. I always love that. I have to say though, let me switch back to this view. I have to say though, it's not, just to clarify, it's not, my music is not free to take it and then re-upload it on Spotify. Also remixes are not free to upload them on Spotify. But it's cool if you want to put them on YouTube or SoundCloud or social media, that's totally fine. But just not on Spotify for some legal reason. But I love it when people get creative with it. Do you like inspiring people in general, and don't you feel they misrepresent the artist's plot? No, because it's very clear, I think, what is a cover and a remix and what's original, right? Everybody can see what's on my channel and what's not on my channel. So what's my YouTube channel, that's what's that's official. All the rest is like fan fiction, if you will. And that's totally fine because I love inspiring people and other people getting creative with my stuff. I have an interest in making music, but I don't know how to start. Plus, it's hard for me what to start with and how do I make it easier. So if you want to start producing music, what you need is a digital audio workstation like Ableton Live, what you've been seeing here. So I would actually recommend Ableton Live. I think there's a different version of it. Let me see real quick. So I'm just going to do some research for you real quick. I think there's a, try it for free. So you can try it for free for 90 days. So I think in 90 days you can figure out if you like it or not. And then if you like it, no, not Max for Live. What? Hello, Live. There we go. Oh, it doesn't show the price to me because I'm logged in. Sorry. Anyway, so you can try it for free for 90 days, which I think should be enough time to figure it out. So what you should do is you should get, for example, Ableton Live, and then I recommend using a tutorial website like, for example, Mac Pro Video. So if you just Google Mac Pro Video, that's how I learned Ableton Live. I was a music producer before. I was working on Cubase, then I was working on Logic, and then I was like, I want to switch to Ableton Live, and I want to speed up the process of getting used to Ableton Live. So I subscribed to Mac Pro Video, and it's like $15 per month or so, and you can use like all the tutorials. There might be other tutorials as well. I would rather use a website like this than YouTube for the start, even if you have to pay a little bit, because it's more structured. In YouTube, it's more like, I don't know, like, hey, here are some tips or some speed hacks or stuff like that, but a very structured way to learn the basics. I would rather recommend a tutorial website. So yeah, it's just basically $15. You get started. You do the free trial for 90 days and you subscribe for a month for a good tutorial website. You can choose another one as well. And then you just try it for a month. And you just walk through, okay, first steps on Ableton Live. And that's how you start. Where was I? More questions coming in now. That's great. Are there going to be new releases next year? Hell yeah! Hell yeah, there are going to be more releases next year. Let me play one. Just a little bit of it. So many, actually.
One of 8 billion, down in the mud, strange children, lonely and lost, but we still
and so on and so forth. Still not mixed. It's still not quite on point. But this is one of the ones, the songs that I'm working on. And I have so many more. This is the one. This should come out, I think, on February 7th. That's the plan. And then my goal is to release 12 new singles next year. So a lot more. So why did I have such a long break? That was for a couple of reasons. Mostly because I moved to a different country. And there was a lot of bureaucracy involved in moving, which sort of kept me out of the studio for half a year. And then I went back into the studio, and then I sort of had to get into the groove again. It's not like a forgot music production, but I don't know, it's a creative flow, and it's not happening like that. You have to get into it. And that took me like half a year. And then I started getting into the flow and then started releasing music again. But now I want to stay in the creative flow. So I think there's a ton of new music coming, and my goal is not to have this interruption again. How do you make so catchy melodies? And most important, how do you make chords for those melodies? So with chords, there are not that many chords that make a lot of sense, in my opinion. I mean, especially Xenogenesis is sort of unique with chords. I'm just searching for something to play chords. Okay. But you could just find some chords that you like. And especially in today's music, it doesn't have to be super complicated. So you just take a chord progression, right, that you like. So it's let's say this, right? And then when you write a melody, look for the notes that are in the chords. So if you have A minor, try to build the melody on those A minor chords. Mostly. Like you have. And then it's very delayed now because of the computer. So it's hard to play live. And then what I strongly recommend is try and think in phrases, right? Try and when you write a melody, try to build a phrase and then another phrase and see if you can repeat phrases on their own. So that it's not like one big thing that's going on forever, but it's more like little thoughts, music thoughts, that build, they together build a melody. For example, my song Unity. Right? So, that's a phrase. So, what was right? So, the phrase repeats, but the chord changes. So this is what helps to make it catchy. That you don't have like chords going on and then a lot of notes going on, but you instead think in short phrases and try to combine those phrases into melodies. So the melody in its own has a structure. Try to learn, maybe analyze a lot of melodies that you like, and try to find the structure in the melody. Yeah, it's hard to explain on a short term, but I hope that helps a little bit. Do you do all of the mixing and mastering yourself, or do you send your mixes off to get mastered? Any mastering tips? Mostly I do the mixing myself and the mastering. Sometimes when I go into the new studio where I don't feel confident about the sound yet, I have a mixing engineer in the USA. So the songs that I didn't mix was Close to the Sun, The Storm, Mayday. I think, as far as I recall, I have Miles Walker is his name. He's doing the mixing, and then it was also mastered by his mastering engineer. All the other songs I mixed completely myself, and I also mastered them completely myself, as far as I recall. Maybe I forgot one, but most of the stuff I mix and master myself. My main mastering tip is don't take mastering. Like, mastering is not that important. It's not that important for the sound. The point about mastering mostly is if you send it to another engineer, the point is to send it to another engineer, which means to have somebody else who has like a different system and never heard the song before and completely fresh ears, and have that person listening to the song, and that person might sometimes hear things that you couldn't hear because you were always listening on the same system or maybe systems, but still you sort of like get a little bit lost. So trying to prevent this, that's one point of mastering. And then overall, it's mostly EQing for me. So because what's happening, you're doing everything like you're putting everything in place, you're mixing everything. And then in the end, you realize, oh, I have a little bit too much low mid frequencies, for example. Now you could go back into the mix here, right? And then go in every track and take out a little bit of the low mid frequencies, right? They're like, oh, okay, here on the bass, I'm gonna remove a little bit of the low mid frequency here at like 240. And then you go through all the, how much is it, like 98 tracks and do that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So this is why I go to the master. And by the way, here there's nothing on the master. And you take an EQ and you take out the low mid frequency. So that's sort of the point about mastering, for me at least. The main point is to balance the overall frequency range, spectrum. Then you can use a little saturation, a little compression. That's what I do sometimes. And then, of course, a limiter. But you don't make the sound in the mastering. Also, you don't mix the sound so much in the mixing. What I always try to focus on is the sound selection, right? So here, personally, I think this works well. Let's take even the vocals off. It's really not a lot going on. It's really not a lot going on, right? It's a snap, chords, and atmosphere, and one melody. But it works together in a great way. Like the sound selection, in my opinion at least, works. And that's what's key. It's how you combine the sounds in the right way. That's what makes it sound good. And what I see sometimes when people send me stuff and they want feedback and they're like, oh, I'm working on the mastering, but I'm like, hey, the sound's not working. The reason the sound of the song is not working is the sounds you selected, they're clashing, right? You're not very intentional about the depth of the song. You're not intentional about the focus, like which sound should be focused. And that's usually why the sound is not working. You cannot fix that in the mastering, right? The mastering is just the last 2% added. Still, a great mastering engineer can do wonders if everything is already in place and everything's already working great. But yeah, as soon as that's like for pro level, and it's even more if you're into like rock or acoustic stuff. If you're in electronic music, it's all in the production. How can I find other people to work with? I'm begging music producer and love to find artists to work with. I'm a beginning music producer and love artists to work with. Maybe SoundCloud, just text people, but definitely try to find people that are on your level. So if you're a complete beginner, try to find other complete beginners. Also, I think there's a music production chat on my Discord server. As if I recall correctly. The Discord server, by the way, is run a lot by like the people who follow me. So I go there every Friday, almost every Friday except today and the last time I did a song breakdown. I go there and do a Q&A, but they run it a lot by themselves. How much time did you spend on this song and Ghostlight? Man, I spent so much time on Ghostlight. It's insane. Probably 700 hours or so. This one was way faster. This one was so fast. The initial idea was one day, then putting it together maybe another day. So maybe Xenogenesis probably only took 2 days of work, which would be like 8 hours, 10 hours. Sort of ridiculous when you compare it. And then with the vocals and everything, maybe another 10 hours, maybe. So it's over 20 hours versus 700 hours, which is crazy if you think about it. But that's how it is. Let me see if there are more questions. how long does it take you to make a whole new song? Yeah, somewhere between 20 and 700 hours. Imagine it takes a lot of playing with new sounds and stuff. Yeah, so the point is that's why I played all the stuff in the beginning. So the new song, even if it happens really fast, it doesn't come out of nothing, right? So you have all the other songs that you create before where you sort of collect ideas. So I was playing around with brass sounds before. I was playing around with those resonant, so where you just use noise and you just have the noise with a resonant filter creating a sound. I was doing that before. So you collect sounds over all the layouts that you do, and then all of a sudden it all comes together. Most of your songs feature the pentatonic scale, correct, in its key parts for some odd reason. No, it's not odd. It's just I like it. And what I like is combining the pentatonic scale. So pentatonic, so you have the diatonic scale, and then you just take out of those 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You just take 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And see, you can play. Sorry if the rhythm is a little bit off, or you have like. Yeah, I have crazy delay between pressing the notes in it. So, like you say, a lot of songs feature the pentatonic scale that I use. But what I like to do is I like to combine it with complex chords. So the chords are usually are not even diatonic. They're like pretty off. They're sometimes without any scale, because like Xenogenesis, it's major chord, major chord, major chord. Right? I don't know what scale this is because it's B flat major and then F flat major and then E flat major and then even A flat major. So the reason I'm doing this is it's simple on the surface because the melody is pentatonic and it's complex underneath. And that's what I like. So, yeah, so it's when you listen to it the first time, you're like, oh, I get it, right? At the same time, you're like, oh, it's somewhat weird and interesting. So this is one way of achieving that. You took a year off to develop your style, 2010 to 2011. That must have been scary. Yeah, it was a little later. I don't know if it was scary. It was somehow scary. But yeah, I mean, you just go for it. I had my wife supporting me. She was because I was like, she was sort of encouraging me to do it. And I was like, hey, I don't know if it's going to work, right? If I like go full on my own thing and do my very own stuff and release my very own music, because I was working for record companies before, which was kind of safe, but it also sucked because you have so many people talking to your music. Everybody's like, hey, you should do this, you should do that, and you make a song, and then you have like 10 people requesting you to change everything until everything sucks. So my wife was like, yeah, you should do your own thing, and I was like, yeah, but I don't know if it's gonna work. And then she said, yeah, it doesn't matter, right? If it doesn't work, I'm still there. I'm still gonna love you, and you should try it. So that really helped. That really helped a lot. Do you know your style was done? Were you forced to release whatever you had and see what happens? I don't know. Can't understand. Do you know your style was done? So, no. I mean, I just make music until I think something really resonates with me. That's the thing, right? And then what I'm doing again now is like saying, okay, I'm gonna release on a schedule. So it's gonna be monthly for me now. I'm not doing the Netflix thing where he releases every week, but I'm gonna release every month, one song at least. So that kind of keeps you moving forward. It forces you to move forward and not to overthink too much. Can you please show what's the difference in sound between original Xenogenesis and Way Back One Day? It's the mixing. like how the sounds are put together and everything, but it's not that much of a sound difference. Oh, I made a remix with friends of The Calling. Any way I can send it to you? Yeah, the best way to send me stuff usually is through Twitter, direct messages. That's where I usually check stuff. I noticed you have a lot of tracks in your song. What's good way to get the same sound but with fewer tracks? Yeah, you could save a lot of tracks if you. I mean, you can just reduce it. So, for example, if you have like 3 bass tracks going on here, so you could just remove this one here. It would still work. So let's cut this down. You can use this one. So this is just the bass and the chords, the main, and then you use this one. And then the kick. Sorry. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tracks. Yeah. So, and that's usually also how I would start the song probably. Those were probably the first 8 tracks that I made. So all those additional tracks you hear is just adding more detail to it. Yeah, just focus on the essentials, if you will. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do like 1 or 2 more questions. Since Ableton limits tracks. Yeah, just focus on the essentials. When are you gonna post the stream to your vlog channel? I think tomorrow, maybe. I believe there's one old abandoned track as well. Kawaii Side of Life. Any plans on releasing it? I know. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna put it on the EP as well. I was thinking about that. Maybe. Oh, okay. I'm gonna finish with this question. What does your work schedule look like? Example, 5 or 8 hours a day, a week. So at the moment, usually I'm at the studio. When am I usually at the studio? Usually around like between 7 or 8. So what I do is I make music for 2 hours. I drink my protein shake. I do workout. I do cold bath. I'm doing this ice plunge now, which a lot of people do, and I can strongly recommend it when you're working on your own. It really wakes you up even more. So because what I usually had, I would work for 2 hours, then do workout, and then I would do another session of 2 hours. And this, like the first half hour would still work, but after the workout, I would like sort of crash, and then the ability to concentrate would be concentration would be much weaker. So what I'm doing now is like 2 hours of music around 7 a.m. till 8 a.m. summer. So I stand up usually 6 till 7, get into the studio 7 till 8 around the time. 2 hours of music, protein shake, workout half an hour, ice bath, and then another 2 hours of music, and maybe 3 hours of music. So it's between 4 to 5 hours of music per day, which doesn't sound a lot, but I also have like a lot of different stuff to do, like all the office organization, false copyright claims, and yeah, whatever, like all the business side of it. And what's also important is those 5 hours are usually very concentrated work. So I'm not messing around. I'm not like dreaming. I'm usually very focused on creating whatever is on my mind. Yep. So that's the stream for today. Thank you all so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Once again, I'm gonna repeat this usually a week after a release of a new song. So the next Twitch stream would be February 14th, I think, because February 7th is the plan to release this song. And then the next week, I'm going to do, once again, a song breakdown. That's when I'm going to stream again. So long. This has been a lot of fun once again. And I'll be back on my Discord the next week on Friday doing song reviews. If you want to have your song reviewed, just stop by and submit it. Thank you so much for watching. See you next. Oh, wait, let me do this properly. Yeah. See you February 14th.